Welcome, welcome, welcome to Rooted Conversations with Jacquese. I am your host. And if you're here today, thank you so much for pressing play. I wanted to start by saying that this episode isn't meant to impress you, it isn't meant to convince you of anything, and it isn't meant to position me as someone who has life all figured out. This episode is simply an introduction to me, to this space, and to why rooted conversations exist. So take a breath, settle in. There's no rush here, and let's get to it. I created rooted conversations because I felt the absence of something. Not something loud or obvious, but something quiet. A lack of spaces where people could speak honestly, raw, uncut, without performing, where conversations didn't have to end with a takeaway or a solution, where growth didn't have to be rushed or branded or packaged neatly in a perfect package. So much of what we consume today feels fast. Fast opinions, fast healing, fast success, fast vulnerability. And while there's nothing wrong with momentum, what I started to notice is how rarely we give ourselves permission to slow down, to sit with questions before answering them, to acknowledge uncertainty without immediately trying to fix everything, to admit becoming takes more time. Rooted conversations grew out of this reflection and out of this realization. So let me just give you a little bit about my background and how it shaped this space. I work in healthcare, specifically pharmacy, and that has deeply shaped how I see people. In that environment, you learn very quickly that no one exists in isolation. Health isn't just physical, it's emotional, it's mental, it's spiritual. People carry stress, grief, hope, fear, faith, and fatigue, often all at the same time. And over time, what I began to notice is how often people are expected to just hold everything together quietly, even when their world is crashing and burning around them. They're still expected to be functional, to be productive, to keep moving, even when they're tired, even when they're uncertain, even when they're hurting. That observation followed me outside of work, into conversations, into relationships, into how I even thought about my own life. So, why conversations matter to me? I've always been someone who reflects internally. I don't always speak first, but when I do, it usually because something has been sitting with me for a while. I was taught as a child early on the power in being upfront and honest and not sugarcoating things. And so while others around me I noticed didn't have that same space, they didn't have that same comfortability that I had, um, being able to just speak in their truth. And so, rooted conversations is an extension of that. It is a place where I can think out loud, where questions are welcomed, where clarity is allowed to arrive slowly. I'm an aspiring writer, but before that, I'm a listener. Someone who believes that conversations, real conversations, has the power to ground us. Not because it fixes everything, but because it reminds us that we are not alone in what we're navigating. I want to be very clear about what this podcast is and what it isn't. This isn't a self help show in the traditional sense. I'm not offering formulas. I'm not giving instructions for how to live your life. I'm not here as an expert. I am here as someone learning in real time, just like you. This podcast is about mental health, faith, wellness, identity, growth, and the ongoing process of becoming. Some episodes will be solely solo reflections, just like this one. Others will be conversations with guests, people who bring their own lived experiences, insight, and honesty into the space. What matters most is not having the right answer, but asking better questions. So, who is this space for? This podcast is for people who feel like they're still figuring things out, for people navigating adulthood without a clear roadmap, for people holding faith and doubt at the same time, for people learning how to reset without guilt, for people who want depth without performance. You don't have to arrive here polished. You don't have to know exactly where you're headed. If you're willing to reflect, to listen, and to grow, you belong here. Why I called it Rooted Conversations? I chose the word rooted intentionally. To be rooted doesn't mean being stuck. It means being grounded. It means knowing where you stand, even when things around you are changing. Rooted Conversations is about grounding ourselves in honesty, in presence, and in intention. It's about building something slowly with care. Looking ahead in future episodes, we'll talk about healing that isn't linear, boundaries and rest, faith and becoming, identity and purpose, what it means to listen to yourself again. There's no rush to get through any of this. This podcast will move at a human pace. So, in closing, if you've been craving conversations that feel slower, deeper, and more honest, I am really glad that you're here. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being open. And thank you for allowing yourself to begin something new with me. This is just the beginning. If this conversation resonated with you, you're welcome to stay connected. Whether that means subscribing or sharing or simply reflecting on what was said. You can follow Rooted Conversations wherever you listen. Podcast. All links are in the show notes. Rooted Conversations is a space for thoughtful dialogue, presence, and becoming. Until next time, take care and stay rooted.